Welcome to the February meeting of the Southampton Village Planning Commission. I just want to start at the beginning, just a quick update on the proposal for the sewer district for the Village Business Center. The last two meetings we had, there was an extensive amount of public comment on the proposed map and plan. And as we said, I think at the end of the last meeting, we want to take this slow and carefully make sure everyone really is understands what we're trying to do and see if we can reach some consensus. So there are two efforts I think that will be going on in the next few months. One is a study by Chris Gobler, professor at SUNY Stony Brook, I think it's called Stony Brook Southampton, actually, College, to look at the current status of the lake and where the drainage is coming from. And so we want to have a better fact basis, current, I should say, fact basis before we move ahead. And then secondly, we also want to make certain that there is a full environmental review of the impacts of the sewer before we come back for further public discussion. So I think our expectation would be we would be back for public discussion this summer, and which is also a good time because obviously there'll be more people here in the village who can take a look and study it. At the last meeting, there was a good deal of confusion, which I apologize about a study that Mr. Lombardo had done back in 2013. And so I brought copies here if there's anyone who wants copies who didn't get one. I just wanted to make sure people were aware that it was around. So unless there are any questions about that item, anyone on the commission wants to say? Okay. So the main topic for tonight's meeting is the North Sea Road. So I think originally probably about 2 years ago now, some of the property owners on North Sea Road came to the planning commission and asked us to look at the zoning on North Sea Road and whether or not the zoning was appropriate given the current conditions on that street. That is a street that is currently zoned for office business, like Hampton Road is. Unlike Hampton Road, it's a little different because even though it's zoned for office business, there are several pre-existing non-conforming uses on that street. And so we talked about it at a few meetings and then agreed that the next step would be to do a study, which the village, I think along with the owners, commissioned to be done. That study has just come back. And I have copies of it here. It's gone to everyone on the commission, so I think we wanted to talk about it. Mr. Robinson, I don't know if you wanted to say anything before we start about the study. So. And if you could just introduce yourself.
Good evening, Bo Robinson, and I have sort of been the spearhead of this whole initiative. Paul, in your committee, I just wanted to mention one thing or two things. Right. One, I've obviously read the report and had some input on from the first draft to this. Right. I think it's a very comprehensive, detailed, specific, and good effort to provide the history, the present status, and the potential future of this street. It's different than, if I could correct you, it's different than Hampton Road. Hampton Road is an office district, but it's been modified a little bit from our standard office district. This is the original office district uses. And as I mentioned to you a couple of years ago, about the only viable use in the office district today is an office. And there just aren't really, there isn't much need, if any need, for those there now. Out of the 40 years that that's been an office district, We've had 2 new buildings built. One of them has been converted to a bank, and the other is a local law practice.
Right.
So I will hope you would look favorably at this. The author of the report, Nelson Pope and Voorhees, through their representative, had asked me to pass on to you that they would like to discuss this with your committee,
Great.
sort of on an informal basis before it goes to a
Right.
full public hearing, if you want to do that.
Right.
So on her behalf, I'm making that offer to
Great.
you, that at your next meeting, Kathy Eisman, you
Great.
come in with me, and we can sit and discuss any
Terrific.
particular questions you've got,
Right.
and move it along that way, and then take it from there, whether you want to go to a full public
Right.
official hearing or pass on it at
Right,
some other level.
right. Just for the purpose of the conversation tonight, I think if what the report is recommending is an overlay.
Correct.
Which
This
would
was the
allow retail
suggestion that we
uses.
have a specialized overlay district, a special exception district. That provides the basic outlines. They have modified some of
Right.
the dimensional setbacks.
Right.
But that enables somebody to have a pretty good idea of what they can build on the property. But then it gives the Board of Appeals the opportunity with the planning board to then make some final adjustments, maybe
Right.
where a driveway is going to go, possibly a cross easement,
Right.
et cetera. And so I think it's the best of both worlds.
Right.
It sort of retains what's there, it enables
Right.
us room to expand, room to grow, room to develop, yet it controls it more so than just saying it's a village business district.
Right, right.
It also identifies on page 53,
Right.
I think 8 or 9 specific categories,
Mm-hmm.
8 specific categories of potential retail uses, and then a general catch-all, general merchandise category. So that pretty
Right.
much takes care of everything. And the report is very sensitive to the fact, with the previous study, the Gibbs study that was done,
Right.
made the same conclusions, that there is need and room to protect the sort of the street traffic businesses on Main Street and Job's Lane. And this looks to
Right.
businesses that would not be such, possibly antique shop, sporting goods.
Right.
Others that are really not necessarily just walk-in
Right, right.
retail businesses.
Right, if I'm correct, I think they identified about 170,000 square feet of retail demand, if you would.
Yes.
In
Potential
right,
capacity, yeah.
In the primary retail market.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's a very thorough report,
Right.
and a lot of appendices, a lot of background history, and a lot of documentation.
Any special reason why some properties appear to be specifically excluded? Like at the corner White and Windmill, or
Mr. Scott,
Bowden Square and North Sea Road?
Actually, what happened is that this is the one, 3 criticisms that eventually I can propose to you.
Okay,
One is that I'm a firm believer that we need to need to plan for the future expansion of North Sea Road between Bowden Square and West Prospect Street. That's a true narrow,
Right,
literally a
right.
narrowing bottleneck of the road. If we can get
Right.
4 lanes in there in the next 50 years, that would be wonderful. But 2 things happened. One is that the report recommended a bike lane down North Sea Road, and I said, given the congestion on that road and the post office
Right,
parking,
right,
ingress
right.
and egress, the Schmitz and the
Right.
Lynch's, I said, that's not a particularly good idea to recommend a bike lane. And then the other part of the mystery was that they had excluded the Bennett property and
Right.
I never got a good answer to that, but I just said it makes no
Right.
sense, in my
Right.
opinion, to exclude it when
Right.
it's going to be surrounded by retail space. The primary focus of all the properties was street front properties. There's another property, the Davis property, that's west of the bank,
Right.
now Gold Coast Bank, and I said that was a real toss-up whether or not that should be included or not, because if it's not, it's basically stranding that property. If it is included, it may be a house or residence
Right.
indefinitely, but at least the owner
Right.
would know that it might be incorporated in somebody's parking lot at some
Right.
future point in time if the parking is necessary.
Right.
Parking is going to be an issue on that road. It is now and it will be in the
Right.
future. So I don't know specifically all the properties, but again, it was oriented basically toward those just on the street front. It didn't include properties up on the northwest portion of the street that are now in the light industrial zone, which is McDonald's, Southampton
Right.
Tire, and the Gulf.
Right,
I think
right.
they could be included because
Right.
they're basically retail anyway.
Right, right.
And if McDonald's ever decided to go out of business, they would revert to the industrial zone, and I think it would be better to continue
Right,
retail use.
right.
And the same thing with Southampton Tire.
I'm trying to remember, is housing a permitted use in that zone?
A single-family dwelling is
Uh-huh.
a special exception use
Uh-huh.
in the office district, but again, and there are 2 or 3 houses remaining in that
Right.
district, but one would contemplate that
Right.
eventually they will, they give way to, although the one house at the southeast corner of Willow Street in Hampton, North Sea Road, as you know, was a major renovation
Yeah,
4 or
yeah.
5 years ago, so I
Yeah.
doubt if that would ever, in the near future, be converted to any kind of business.
And townhomes, are those permitted, or that would require?
We have no.
Multifamily?
No, well, I think a 1 or 2 or 3 family multifamily is
But
a special
not a
exception,
development.
but it's just not a viable use along that road at this
Right,
stage of the game.
Um,
So anyway, for whatever discussion you'd like to
right.
have tonight, that would be
Right.
good, but again, Kathy would like to address you
Sure,
at a
sure.
specific time when she can be here, and we might contemplate that for your next meeting
Right.
if you're available.
I mean, I think, one thing that certainly I think we're happy to see is the idea of an overlay district where each site that wants to change its use has to come and go through a review. We think, that helps to address the issues that we raised before.
It's a very viable format for this
Right.
type of project.
Right.
Because again, you're not just giving a blanket
Right.
permission to do it,
Right.
and then leaving it up to each
Right.
individual applicant or the planning board to settle this out, but you're giving some overview to the Board of Appeals,
Right.
which can again, with the planning board, coordinate the use of these properties. Because there are several properties that will probably be infilled,
Mhm.
and, that again is subject very nicely to coordination with with the village plan and the planning board type of work with cross easements and accesses.
Does the study address the traffic impact?
Yes,
or-
yes.
It
A
does.
little bit, because, and the possible bottleneck of the bridge,
There's no bottleneck at the bridge, that's 4 lanes. It's 48 feet wide from curb to curb.
So I think that's, obviously in terms of the next meeting, and I'll arrange
Yes.
for Kathy to be here, I think the 2 things that we want to hear about, and I think they are addressed in here, but the 2
Okay.
things I think are just the issues that came up when we talked about this last, it's a while ago now, were number 1, making sure that the traffic was addressed, and Bob Essay, who'll be at the next meeting, was very concerned about making sure that there was a provision to widen the street, as you
I
discussed.
hardly agree with that, and quite
Right.
frankly, unfortunately, the house at the northeast corner of Bowden Square in
Right.
Zero has been sold,
Uh-huh,
and that's an historic
Right.
landmark,
right,
but had that not been sold and that property unified and then sold together with Schmidt's Market, there might
Right.
have been an opportunity to take traffic off that road.
right,
What
right,
will happen to that now is maybe a little bit more complex than it was before the sale of
Mhm,
that, but
mhm.
that would have given an opportunity to have some kind of unification if those could have been developed together
right,
and
Right.
sort of lessened the burden, at least lessen the burden of the ingress and egress of the market on North Sea
right,
Road.
which has been a continuing issue. And-
Continuing issue, especially since it's right across from the post
Right,
office.
right.
So there's an opportunity to actually make this better proportionally
Right.
than otherwise.
Yeah, which obviously is the advantage of the overlay district, it allows us to address issues we would never otherwise address.
Exactly.
And then I guess the other thing, which, I think the report really spends a lot of time on, which we very much appreciate and want to hear next time. When we talked about this originally, the biggest concern at the commission was we've put so much effort into the revitalization of the village business district. We wanted to make sure we weren't doing anything that would counteract that. And so
I think this
I think
will
they've done a good job
complement it. Yeah, I
of
think
doing
this
an
will
analysis of
complement
that.
We've analogized in the
Right.
planning board business district, sort of like a nuclear reactor. You need a certain core amount of heat.
I'm not sure I would use that analogy, but anyway.
Well, you need a core amount of heat,
Right.
or any generation
Right,
plant, or
correct.
any development. You need a
Right.
core amount of heat. We see
Right.
that in, in shopping centers
Right,
with your
right.
anchor tenants.
Yes.
Well, that's,
Right.
the periphery stores actually
Right.
complement the
Yeah,
anchor
yeah,
tenants.
yeah.
And we see this functioning in the same manner. Again,
Yeah.
you're not gonna have a lot of apparel businesses there with
Right.
people casually walking by and then walking in. It's
Right.
gonna be more of a destination kind
Right,
of a
right.
business.
Right, so I think at the end of the day, one of the things we're gonna make quite sure is, the same comments we made when the town was talking about doing a development at Tuckahoe would be the same comments we would make here. We want to make sure that what we do at the end of the day, allows retail to happen, but is not ultimately competitive with what's happening in the business center and what we've
Well,
identified
that's
as the
page
future.
53. but
Right,
Please
right.
bear in mind that
Yeah.
I can't remember my exact statistic, but based upon the linear footage of the road, it was in the nature of 45% of that street is retail right now.
Yeah.
So this is, you're
Right.
only talking about 60%
Right.
of the remaining linear distance, and you've got 3 parcels that are now in the community preservation fund.
Right.
And other parcels that really probably the use will never change.
Correct. I totally agree.
In the
and I-
indefinite future.
Yeah, I think the advantage of an overlay district is, this will happen, to the extent that change happens, it's gonna be over a very extended period of
Yeah,
time.
and there are probably literally maybe
Right.
15 parcels that this
Right.
is gonna have any impact on in the next 10 or 15 years.
Right.
The English Country Antique parcel
Mhm.
will probably not change. Public House will probably remain a restaurant.
Right.
The bake shop area
Mhm.
could benefit if they could pick up another parcel and expand that.
Right,
Um,
that's for sure.
And that takes us all the way to Bowden Square.
Mhm.
And then you've got a bank there now. The post office
Mhm.
will not change. You've got the
Right,
Lilco,
right.
not the Lilco, but the PSEG
Right,
property.
right.
So there's not that much
Right.
that's ever gonna really change at this
Right.
stage of the game.
Right. Questions?
But thank you for your consideration of this and
Yeah.
then moving forward with it.
Yeah, so I think we want to put this on the agenda next time.
Yeah, could you do that, and I'll make
Um,
sure that Kathy is
Yeah,
available?
yeah, I think we'll make sure that the public knows it's being
Okay.
discussed in case,
Yeah.
and if you want the other owners to come, that would be great.
Oh, that'd be good too.
That would be really good
All
to
right.
have the others talk
Do you know
about
when the
it.
next meeting is?
I think it's March 4th,
Yeah,
Is that
it's
right?
the first Thursday in March, but.
first
It's
Thursday.
Thursday in March, that'll be the 3rd.
3rd, sorry.
That's okay.
Okay.
I know, because I'm not gonna be here the 4th, and I was gonna say after 2 years, that would be my working day.
Right, that would be typical, right? Okay.
And have to delay it another month. So let's plan for March
Yeah.
3rd,
Okay,
and thank you very much for
Yeah,
considering.
but I want to thank you, because this is the right way to do things.
My pleasure. Look,
For us to
I
do a study
do have a
first and
personal
then
interest
look
in
at
this,
it.
but I really do think it's better for the village,
Right,
because that
right.
certainly is a road that's atrophying.
Right.
And I think this is a very effective way of addressing these issues and moving this forward.
Yeah.
I've had several of these owners express that to me, that
Right.
it really gives them the ability to make an investment in
Right.
their property and move and develop their properties in a better manner than they are
Right.
already.
Right.
So thank you very much.
okay, very good.
Mark, any other questions?
No, I think that,
Okay.
I think the main point will be the traffic.
Right, I agree with you. I think that's,
Traffic is really gonna be the,
and I think they've done an analysis, we should take a look at it, and then, maybe before the meeting, sort of prepare a list of,
Right, exactly.
of questions to get to Kathy, so she can be ready
Yes.
for the meeting to address them. Any public comment about the study? Anything else we're doing? Weather outside? Okay. Or anything else?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no?
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Okay.